What's up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I'm very excited for today's video. This is going to be another installment in my Preloved luxury series. This video is going to be all about my favorite sites for shopping for Preloved luxury, whether it be handbags, accessories, shoes, ready to wear, you name it. A lot of you guys reach out to me here on YouTube and on Instagram and you tell me, I want to buy Preloved goods. I want to save a little bit of money, especially with all the price increases lately, but you just don't know how and you feel a little bit intimidated and you want to make sure that what you are buying is authentic. Well, don't worry guys, I got you. I'm going to be walking you through my favorite sites that I trust, kind of going through like the pros and the cons, giving you a good lay of the land to help you guys save a little bit of money. So if you want to hear my top 6 sites for buying Preloved luxury and all of my tips, then keep watching. And if this happens to be your first time here, then welcome, welcome. My name is Sophia and I'm your regular run-of-the-mill luxury addict. I've been building my luxury collection for over 10 years now. I love buying from boutiques, but I also love saving a little bit of money buying luxury pre-loved items. Every single week I upload new content on luxury beauty, bags, fashion, and lifestyle. So if that sounds of interest to you, then you're in the right place, my friend. Hit that subscribe button to join our fam, and you can also click that notification bell to hear about every time I upload a new video. Let's get into it. All right, party people, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I am going to be linking all of these sites in the description box down below, along with all the makeup that is on my face today. If you guys find this video helpful and you happen to want to shop from any of these sites, do know that my links are affiliate links. So if you'd like to support my channel, shopping through my links is a really great way to do so at no additional cost to you. But without further ado, let's get into the first Preloved luxury resale site that we're going to be talking about today, and that is none other than Fashionphile. I love shopping from Fashionphile. They are very popular in the luxury community and for a good reason. One of the things that I really like about them is that they're one of those sites that all of the inventory that is on their site, whether they have done a buyout or they are consigning with another seller, they have all of that inventory in their custody. They take in all of these items, they do the inspections themselves, they do all of the authentication in-house by their own authentication experts, so you can rest assured that you're not buying any fakes. And then all of that they come up with is what you see on the website. So they really take ownership of that description, and I do think that that ends up helping later on. If you have an issue with your order, you reach out to customer service, they kind of take ownership of whatever is on the website. So I like the fact that they have the item, they've seen it, they've authenticated. It really gives me good peace of mind. I also think that they have a fantastic selection. They do not have any ready to wear or like home goods. I'll just kind of call that out, but they have a really good selection of handbags, and also I noticed of jewelry and other kinds of accessories like SLGs and scarves, and they're uploading new products every single day. They have a super good selection. I tend to think, compared to some of the other sites we're going to be talking about today, they definitely have a little bit of like a higher bar when it comes to accepting certain products. I feel like they really only bring in products from particular brands that they know are going to sell really well on their website, and also of a specific quality. And I do find that the prices are pretty fair, and I also find that the descriptions are pretty fair. Fashionphile also has 2 retail locations. They have one in New York City, and they also have one in Carlsbad, California. I had the pleasure of going to the Carlsbad one a couple of weeks ago for my birthday, and it was a very fun experience. Highly recommend if you guys are located in any of those places. I actually did vlog that experience, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you can see that vlog if you want to hear more about my experience, a little bit more about Fashionphile, and maybe an unboxing as well. But one thing that I want to note here, friends, is that they have really good customer service, both when you're in the store and also when you call in. I haven't had any issues with Fashionphile, but I have had questions as I'm shopping around for bags, and their customer service has been super helpful. And I have heard the same thing from a lot of other, luxury creator YouTubers. Putting all of that aside, I think the biggest game changer for me with Fashionphile is the fact that you can return any item. It's a very generous return policy. Anything that you buy, you can return within 15 days. So it kind of makes the experience more like shopping from a department store full of pre-loved items. Because if you get it and you see that, oh, you know what, I didn't realize there was like a little scratch here and that bothers me. Or I thought the leather was gonna feel a little bit different. Or you know what, I was kind of imagining this being a bit bigger and roomier, or this bag's a little heavier than I thought it was gonna be. You can return it. You have peace of mind, you have that flexibility. And personally for me, I'm more likely to kind of pull the trigger knowing that once I get it, if it's not everything that I hoped and imagined, I can always send it back. So I think that plus the good customer service, it just gives me peace of mind. And honestly, Fashionphile is the site that I recommend the most to my friends and family who maybe are kind of new to buying pre-loved luxury and they're kind of like dipping their toes, because I know that they're not gonna be in a situation where they end up with something they don't love and they can't send it back. And because people can return items, things come back in stock all the time. You can set up alerts for things as they come into their inventory, but you also can set up an alert if somebody who snagged that bag you had your eye on, you can set an alert for when it comes back in stock. I get those alerts all the time. You can set up discount alerts. If something is maybe a little bit out of your price range, maybe they will reduce the price, and then you can set up an alert for that and you can snag it according to your budget. A couple other cool features on Fashionphile, they do have a luxury layaway option. So if you have your heart set on, let's say, a Birkin 25 in Togo leather, it pops up on the site, but maybe you don't have all of the money, or you just don't want to spend all of the money for that product all at once, you can put in a deposit, reserve that item, and then over time, pay it off. It's basically like a digital layaway option. They also have Fashionphile Refresh. So when you do buy something from Fashionphile, they make it really easy for you to sell that item back. If it's outside the time of the return policy, maybe you've been using that bag for a couple of months and you say, you know what, I really wanted it in another color and I see that color on the site right now, or you know what, it just didn't really work out for my lifestyle. They make it pretty easy for you to just immediately sell it back, and then you can sell it back for, you know, maybe 60 to 75% of the price that you bought it for. Lastly, when it comes to shipping, all of the domestic orders do ship free. Everything is insured, and they also have international shipping as well. So if you live internationally, you can purchase directly from Fashionphile. Now, I told you in the beginning of this video that I was also gonna share some of the considerations that I think you need to have when shopping from each of these sites. When it comes to Fashionphile, I think the biggest thing is that they don't really have a lot of like site-wide sales or offers or coupon codes. I think with Fashionphile, you sort of trade that aspect with all of those features that I just mentioned. You pay maybe a little bit, or maybe you don't get like the biggest steal of a lifetime in exchange for maybe higher quality, better customer service, flexible returns, all of those types of things. I do think that the prices are pretty fair, and I've scored some amazing deals on Fashionphile, but you can't, for example, make an offer to try and get a lower price. You don't really have that flexibility. The price you see is the price you get, and things do sell pretty quickly. Like the good deals, they go, because they do have some really good deals on the site. Those are the things that sell the fastest. What I've seen in terms of sales on Fashionphile is more of like a supply and demand model. If the product has been sitting there for a certain amount of time, I will start to get alerts and I'll see it maybe day by day or week by week. They'll like slowly decrease the price until it sells. So that's just a little bit of an overview about how that works. And, you know, you can wait and see if something goes on sale, but then there's also kind of the risk that someone else might pick it up. The second thing is, I did mention they have international shipping, but please keep in mind that if you do international shipping, you are responsible for VAT, duties, taxes, any kind of import duties, you are responsible for that. And then the last thing with Fashionphile is that, you know, I think out of all of the sites, their mobile app is probably the worst. I usually shop on their website, but their mobile app, it's just okay. If you are a mobile shopper, I do recommend switching to the web version. The next site that I like to shop from is The RealReal. Now, The RealReal, it's kind of similar to Fashionphile in that all the products that they buy are consigned. They also are taking in-house. They're doing all the photography, the descriptions, the authentication, you name it. But I think the main difference with The RealReal is that they have a wider breadth of product types and brands that they accept onto their site. For example, they have a lot of ready to wear, they have more vintage clothing, vintage bags, they have fine art, they have home items. So there's a little bit more of like an array of products that you can get on their site. I also think that they do more sort of like edits and merchandising, whether you're looking for a particular trend or style or maybe like a sales section. I feel like they do more of that on their site. I also see a lot more like coupons and deals, site-wide sales on the RealReal. So I think with the RealReal, there's probably more to choose from, and there's also more deals. The other interesting thing that they have as a feature on their site is a subscription plan. This plan is called First Look. Essentially what it is that you pay $12 a month and you get to see all of the new products as they're uploaded to the site 24 hours in advance. That's pretty much all of the good stuff that gets bought up immediately. So all of the super good deals or maybe rare items, they're getting bought up in those first 24 hours. So just like a cool feature to take into consideration if you guys are like really on the hunt for super good deals. Paying $12 a month if you're able to kind of maybe save, let's say $1,000, $2,000 on your dream item might be worth it to you. Now, even though I think there are maybe some better deals and better selection on the RealReal, there are, some cons to shopping on this site. The biggest one for me, what probably keeps me from buying more on the RealReal, is the fact that there's no returns on handbags. I know, that's the biggest thing because I don't know about you guys, handbags are like my biggest vice. That is what I'm usually shopping for when it comes to luxury items. And the fact that they don't allow returns on handbags really stinks. I really wish that they did because that is going to be one of the more popular items that they probably sell. Unlike Fashionphile, the shipping and returns are not free. You do have to pay for that. And also with international shipping, once again, you are responsible for all of the import duties. Last two things with the RealReal, I do sometimes wish that they had more photos, especially considering the fact that they're taking the photos themselves. It's not some random seller. I kind of wish that they had more photos at times. And then lastly, in terms of their customer service, it's just okay. I had an experience with their customer service a few weeks ago. It was very lackluster and the person I was talking to didn't really seem very familiar with like the items we were talking about at all. Comment down below and let me know, what has your experience been with the customer service on the RealReal? I would love to know. I tend to think that Fashionphile, they shine a little bit more when it comes to returns, customer service, etc. And then with the RealReal, you have more of an opportunity to maybe score a slightly better deal. The next site is Rebag. This one is another one that is similar to Fashionphile and the RealReal. You're seeing a trend here, guys, where they take all of the inventory in-house. They do all the photography, the authentication, the posts, the listing, all of that stuff they do in-house. So it is kind of in the same bucket as those other two sites. That's why I'm kind of grouping all of these together. Now, the good thing about the Rebag is just like Fashionphile, they do have a return policy. It's a little bit shorter. It is 7 days, but honestly, guys, I appreciate any kind of return policy when it comes to buying pre-loved goods in general. Also, I think that Rebag, they do tend to have a lot of good deals and sales. I see, coupon codes and site-wide sales pop up all the time on Rebag. So I think that that is good as well. I've seen some very, very good deals on Rebag in the past. Way lower prices, I think, in general than Fashionphile. It does depend on the item. One thing that's really interesting about Rebag that I have noticed, because when I'm shopping for something, I look at all of the sites that we're talking about today. And what I have noticed is that Rebag will relist their items on other sites. Let me give you an example. I was shopping for a classic Celine box bag in the medium size. I saw it on Rebag, but I also saw that same bag on two other sites we're about to talk about, Poshmark and Vestiare Collective. And depending on the bag, sometimes you actually can get a better deal on some of those other sites. Like I'll go favorite it on Poshmark. It'll say posted by Rebag, like this is consigned by Rebag. And then the next day I'll get an offer, like a 20% off offer or a 30% off offer from Rebag on Poshmark for the same bag that they have live on their site. So that's just a little tip, guys. When you all are shopping for a particular bag, check across different sites because whether it is the actual company like Rebag or if it's an individual seller in a marketplace, a lot of times people, they will post these items across multiple sites. I've sold my bags, I do that. So make sure that you are checking across the sites. So that's just a little tip. If you see something on Rebag, make sure you're cross-checking all of the sites. Another interesting thing about Rebag that I didn't see at any of these other sites is that they actually have a rewards program. So if you stick with Rebag, you can sort of earn bonuses, discounts, points, all those types of things to get more deals in the future or maybe access to better deals before anybody else. In terms of shipping, there's a couple of good benefits here as well. You get free shipping within the US on all orders over $500. They also have a lot of international shipping options. And what's really nice here compared to the other two sites that we just talked about is that if you are shipping internationally, Rebag will calculate all of the duties and all that stuff up front so that you know exactly how much you're paying. You don't get hit by surprise from, you know, customs or whatever with that duty tax maybe a month later, a couple of weeks later. So you know exactly how much you need to budget for that particular purchase. And then two other quick features, just like Fashionphile, they do have kind of like a sell back program where you can sell back your bag within a certain amount of time and you're gonna get about 60 to 75% of the purchase price. And then they also have a really cool feature where you can sort of trade. So as you buy, let's say a handbag, you can also at the same time sell another item to Rebag, and basically you can just pay the difference. So I think at the end of the day, you sort of save a little bit on taxes and you're not paying so much upfront. So I thought that was kind of like a neat feature. Now, in terms of considerations with Rebag, I think the biggest consideration is just they don't have as big of a selection as The RealReal and Fashionphile and pretty much a lot of the sites that we're gonna be talking about today. I think Rebag is probably like the smallest company out of all of these, just based off my perception. They have the least inventory. So they're a great site to shop from if you can find what you want. I would honestly buy a lot more from Rebag, but a lot of times I can't really find that exact thing that I have in mind. In addition, I know I mentioned that they have a 7-day return policy, but unfortunately that does not count for international orders. So I think it's great that they sort of calculate the VAT and everything up front for you guys. But if you buy something and you are an international customer, unfortunately, that return policy does not apply to you. And then lastly, I do think some of the features on their mobile app could be a little bit more robust, especially when it comes to alerts. It's not as easy to kind of set up very specific alerts, view your alerts, etc. I think some of those features could be more robust, but it's definitely not a deal breaker for me. Now, you guys saw a trend with the previous 3 companies discussed. All of those are sites where they're taking their inventory in-house and they're doing all the listings, the inspections, everything up front. These next 3 sites are going to be marketplace models where you have a bunch of sellers, maybe all over your country or all over the world, and then you have buyers like us who are looking to purchase those items and kind of shopping across many, many sellers. And the first site that I want to talk about is Vestiare Collective. I really like shopping from this site because it is so international. There is such a huge selection of products, like almost mind-blowing sometimes. You can shop ready to wear, you can shop bags, you can shop brooches and pins, accessories, everything. Like you can find a lot of vintage items on Vestiare Collective because there are just so many sellers, both individual people just like myself, maybe selling a bag that I don't use anymore, and then also professional sellers. In fact, if you guys are interested, I did do another video as a part of this series where I show you guys how I shopped for pre-loved and vintage ready to wear and saved basically like 80% of the purchase price. I'm gonna be linking that down below if you guys want more tips for either shopping for pre-loved luxury clothing or just shopping from Vestiare Collective in general. So I will be linking that down below. Now, even though you're buying these products from individual sellers, there still is an authentication process with Vestiare Collective. When you purchase something from a seller, it then goes to their authentication facility where they're going to inspect it. They're going to make sure it's authentic. They're also going to make sure that it kind of fits with the description. I have had situations where they messaged me after taking a look at the item and maybe there was like a tiny little something that wasn't mentioned in the listing and I'm like, that's okay. That's not a problem. They will let you know up front. And in that case, you can decide, yes, I want it, or no, I don't want it anymore. So you still are getting that sort of like thorough inspection that you get from the other sites. It's just happening after you decide to purchase the item. Just like the other sites, you can set up alerts, very specific ones. Like on Vestiare Collective, you can set up super specific alerts. For me, for example, right now, I'm on the hunt for deals on exotic leather bags. So I have alerts for, you know, these brands in crocodile, lizard, python, and every time I see something that fits that description, I will get a push notification. And so whenever things hit the site, you get to know first. So the alerting is really good. Other thing that I really like about Vestiare Collective that you don't get from the other sites aforementioned is that you can make offers on most items. I've gotten a lot of really great deals because, you know, I looked at the purchase price. I was like, you know, I'm not really willing to pay that. Maybe the seller will accept an offer for, you know, $200 less. Maybe I can get a little bit more of a deal. You really have nothing to lose. So I do like the fact that you can make an offer. You sort of enter a little negotiation room with the seller, and then you negotiate a price. In general, Vestiare Collective makes it pretty easy to talk to the sellers. There's a little comment section, so you can always post questions, you know, what are the measurements for this jacket? Or can you post more photos of this bag in natural light? Or, you know, does this fit a little bit oversized? You can ask those questions where normally maybe with other sites, you would have to call customer service. Maybe they'd be able to get you the answers to those questions. If it's an individual seller, sometimes they might be a little bit quicker to respond with really specific information that you ask for. Also, I have noticed they do have some promotions. I've used coupon codes in the past. You know, it might be if you spend $1,000, you might get like $100 off or $200 off. Sometimes you have to spend a little bit more, but if you were looking to buy something already, it is nice to save a little bit of money off of that. And then lastly, in terms of things that I really like about Vestiare Collective is that they do let you know up front what the duties and taxes are going to be. With Vestiare Collective, because it's more of an international audience, I typically will have to pay some sort of duties on it. There's only so many sellers that are going to be in the United States. If you're looking across all of these countries and whatever, a lot of times you are going to be subject to duties, and they let you know right up front what those are going to be so you can decide if it's worth it. Sometimes it's a lot and it's not worth it for me, and sometimes it's like really barely anything and I don't care, and I'm going to check out with that anyway because I already got a super good deal. So my recommendation for you on Vestiare Collective, add it to cart, go to your cart, and see what the duties are before you sort of dither on around whether or not you want to get it. Just make sure you understand what the duties are going to be up front. Now, in terms of considerations with Vestiare Collective, you have to keep in mind here, you are dealing with individual sellers, and like some sellers are going to be more responsive than others. Sometimes you have someone that just, you know, put up a blazer and that they wanted to get rid of. They're not really checking their messages. And then other times you have people who are super duper quick to respond. I've had a pretty good experience on Vestiare Collective, but I've also had situations where, you know, I've purchased the product, and after I've purchased it and made that big decision to get it, the seller actually had to cancel it because, you know, maybe they sold it on some other site and they weren't really paying attention to their messages, etc. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad, just like with all of these sites. Sometimes they're not, you know, there to respond super quickly. Sometimes you don't get the most professional photos like you might on a Fashionphile, for example. So there's pros and cons to all of that. Also with Vestiare Collective, you usually cannot return the items unless you are shopping from a professional seller, and it will say on the listing, when you take a look at the seller information, it'll say professional seller if it's a professional seller. But just from, you know, because this is all a numbers game, there's more individual sellers than there are professional sellers. So just kind of keep that in mind. If returns are important to you, filter by the professional seller boutiques, because then you're going to have that return option. If you get something that doesn't fit or you don't like, which actually has happened to me, you can relist the item on Vestiare Collective with like no additional fees, etc. I've done that. It's super easy. With a click of a button, you can just boop, relist it back on there, and then you can sell the item yourself at whatever price you would like. Last thing to keep in mind is just the shipping. You are going to pay for shipping. Usually it's not that much, and then you're gonna have to pay $15 for authentication. So just kind of keep in mind, you know, you might have to pay an extra $30, $40 for the shipping and authentication fees. And also just because they are sending it to their authentication office, it's going to take a little bit longer than some of these other companies that have done all of that up front and they just ship it right to you. You're going to have to wait maybe like a week to 10 days, at least in my experience, to receive that item. The next site is one that I have a lot of experience both buying and selling on, and that is Poshmark. Poshmark is a pretty big marketplace. There are a lot of sellers on here, and this is also one of the sites where I have gotten some of the best deals. I won't lie. One of their best features, just like Vestiare Collective, is that you can make an offer on pretty much anything. Not everyone's going to accept your offer, of course, but you can make an offer to the sellers. And sometimes you get a seller that just wants to get rid of something and you can get an absolutely amazing deal. Just like Vestiare Collective as well, it's pretty easy to message sellers if you want mod shots, if you want more photos, if you want a photo of the corner wear of like a little scratch, or if you want more details about the item, the dimensions, anything like that. They make it pretty easy to do that. You can see other comments that other people have posted and the way that the seller has responded to them. You can go and check out the seller's full boutique and sort of like their ratings and comments on other things, so you can kind of see how that particular seller conducts business on their page. Now, the way that the authentication on Poshmark works is a little bit different than some of these other sites. On Poshmark, anything that is over $500 automatically gets authenticated. And it's kind of like the Vestiare Collective model where the seller will send in the item to Poshmark. Poshmark has a team of expert authenticators that go through everything, they authenticate it. You kind of are able to track the progress along the way. And as soon as they, give the thumbs up that everything looks good, that's when they send the item to you. So that's how it works. If it's under $500, it doesn't matter what the brand is, doesn't matter if it's Chanel, Louis Vuitton, anything. Unfortunately, it doesn't qualify for the Poshmark authentication service. The customer service also, I will say, they're very quick to respond and they're very good. I had a little bit of an issue the other day when I ordered my Bottega Veneta hobo bag that I reviewed for you guys. That bag comes with like a little mirror. And I think what happened is that when I opened the box, I was so excited. I didn't notice that the mirror was like carefully packed within the box. And so unfortunately I lost the mirror. I reached out to customer service. They were very helpful. They actually videotape all of the authentication process and they were able to, send me a photo of the authenticator packing up the little mirror in the box and doing the authentication. I was pretty impressed. Like, it seems like they really have their act together, and they actually gave me like a little bit of Poshmark credit as well because I was a little upset at my mistake, even though they did nothing wrong. So just wanted to share that experience. Their customer service has been pretty good for me in the past. Now, in terms of considerations for Poshmark, I think one of the biggest ones is that unfortunately, they're only in the US. They don't do any kind of international shipping. This is very much a United States based app. You're gonna be paying about $8 for expedited shipping, which isn't too much if you're paying for a luxury item. You get everything within 3 days. Also, which I kind of touched upon before with Vestiare Collective, you're at the mercy of the seller. There are plenty of things that I see on Poshmark that I'm so interested in, and the seller just, for whatever reason, doesn't respond or responds super duper late. Sometimes it's hard to know if the item is still available, which kind of brings me to my next point. You have a lot of like more inexperienced sellers on Poshmark. That's kind of my perception, because I think the way that Poshmark is marketed to just the US consumer is that it's the kind of place where if you are doing like a declutter, if you're cleaning out your closet, you can just grab the app, snap your photos of like, the sweater or the dress that you only wore to like one wedding that you don't need anymore. You can put it on the app and you can sell your stuff. And in fact, I've sold a lot of clothes for my declutters on Poshmark. And so I think for that reason, you have sort of more inexperienced luxury sellers on there. Sometimes that means that you can get like a better deal, but also it sometimes means that people aren't as responsive. There's a lot of like non-luxury items on the Poshmark app, in addition to all of like the bags, the shoes, the more high-end things that are on there. The next thing to consider is that all sales are final, but they do have something called Posh Protect. And what that means is that when you get your item, if there's something that wasn't in the listing or something that wasn't described, you are protected by Poshmark Protect. So if you get it and it's actually a different color, if it is fake, if there's like a scratch on it or any kind of damage on it that was not disclosed by the seller, you are eligible to file a claim and return the item. So what that means for you, friends, is that if you're shopping on Poshmark, ask questions. Make sure you ask questions in the comment section and you have the seller respond to you, because that will be proof that they said, no, there's no corner wear here, or no, there is no color transfer, etc. And then you can show that to the Poshmark customer service and you're sort of protected there just in case you get something and it is something that wasn't up to your expectations or didn't match the listing. Which brings me to my next point. I have purchased fake items on Poshmark. It's the only place that I've purchased an item and it ended up being fake. The first item that I purchased was a Fendi baguette, and it was sent into their authentication office and it was very quickly deemed to be a fake. I don't know what it was. It looked real in the photo. Maybe they sent in something that ended up being a fake, but the Poshmark team caught it. They canceled my order. I was instantly refunded and I went and bought a Fendi baguette from somewhere else. The second fake item that I ordered was less than $500. It was a Louis Vuitton baseball hat, and so it didn't go to their authentication team. When it came to me, I instantly realized that this was a fake item. I confirmed that with my favorite authentication service, which I will link down below. It cost me about $15, and then I reached out to Poshmark, filed a claim, and they instantly refunded me. I sent it back to the seller, who may not have known that it was fake, to be honest. You know, some people don't know that they have inauthentic items. So what I'm saying here, friends, is not that everything on Poshmark is fake. It's really just that there's a lot of inexperienced sellers. There's a lot of inexperienced buyers on Poshmark that can get duped more easily. So if you're going to be buying on Poshmark, buy something that's over $500. Don't be buying little small SLGs or anything like that, because it's just not worth the risk, the energy, the anxiety, etc. You always are covered by their expert authentication service, just in case. And the last site that I have shopped from is eBay. I feel like most of you probably know what eBay is. It's one of, if not the biggest online marketplace. And I feel like a lot of times people associate eBay with sort of sketchy sellers and fakes, all that kind of stuff. But I'm here to tell you guys, you can get some really great authentic deals on eBay. They have so many sellers from all over the world. They actually have a lot of professional sellers that have, you know, standalone boutiques in Japan. There's a lot of professional sellers out there, and there's a big range of items, especially if you're looking for vintage items, vintage deals, because sometimes it's really hard to seek those out. You have to find the right seller that specializes in, you know, vintage Dior, vintage Louis Vuitton. When it comes to finding the right sellers and making sure that you're buying authentic goods on eBay, I have two recommendations. The first one is take a look at the seller. Buy from sellers that have a lot of ratings, a lot of reviews. They've sold a lot of items on eBay. Like I said, there's some professional sellers on there that you really have no reason not to trust. You also can look for sellers in Japan, because in Japan, they have more stringent laws about selling fakes. You also, as I kind of touched upon in the last section with Poshmark, you also can authenticate things with an authentication service just in case. So I'm going to link my favorite one down below that I've used in the past when purchasing things on eBay. The second thing to look out for is the eBay Authenticity Guarantee. This seems to be a bit of like a newer program that they've established over maybe the past couple of years, because when I shopped from eBay in the past years ago, I don't remember this being a thing. Essentially, it is a program that the seller can opt into with eBay. And just like with Poshmark and Vestiare Collective, when their item ships out, it's going to first ship to the eBay expert authenticity team. They're going to inspect it, they're going to authenticate it, and then it's going to get sent to you. So what you want to do when you're shopping on eBay is look for the little blue check mark. It's going to say Authenticity Guarantee. And if you see that, you know that you are covered. And this actually is going to be free to you. I believe it's something that the seller pays. And obviously it helps them sell their item quicker, because people have a little bit more peace of mind when they're shopping from that seller. Just like with all those other sites, you can communicate with the seller. You can ask for more photos. You can ask for, you know, dimensions, measurements, quality, any of those types of things to get more information about the items. I've actually felt that on eBay, sometimes you get even better descriptions than like on Fashionphile, for example. Sometimes on those sites, you get a little paragraph because they have to describe so many different items and they have so many coming in every single day. They only have so much bandwidth to write a super detailed description. Some of the ones on eBay are so intensely informational. It's really, really great. You also can set alerts just like all of the other sites. And then lastly, a lot of you guys know there are auctions on eBay, and auctions are a great way to save. I got my Bottega Veneta mini Jody bag for about $800, and I think that bag is like over $2,000 now. I just won it in an auction and nobody else wanted to bid for it. I got it authenticated myself, and yeah, I got that for a huge steal. And finally, some of the considerations that you need to have when shopping from eBay. The first one is that authenticity guarantee. Apparently, I think because it's a bit of a newer program, at least at the time of me filming this video, it is only a feature for those of us who are in the United States. And it's only if you are shopping also from either United States sellers or Japanese sellers, because there are a lot of Japanese luxury resellers on eBay. So I think they really prioritize those two markets first. So unfortunately, you don't have that if you are maybe like in Europe or other parts of Asia, etc. So that's something to keep in mind. That being said, I still recommend shopping from the Japanese resellers and kind of following some of those other tips that I shared if you want to shop from eBay and get some deals from there. A couple of other things when it comes to returns: some sellers offer returns, some do not. So make sure you check the listing. You know, if you are in the US and you're buying from a US reseller, you might be more likely to get a return. It might be less of a hassle. Also, you are going to be subject to duties and customs, all those types of things. eBay does not calculate all of that stuff up front. And then lastly, I always have to critique the website. I am a product manager by trade when I'm not on here making videos about luxury items. I think that their website is like just okay. It's very functional. They have done a much better job with kind of the layout and the merchandising when you're shopping for luxury bags in some views. But in general, I just found the layout of the product pages to be kind of all over the place. The information is there. I just wish I didn't have to sort of scan all over the page to get what I needed. Woo! That is all I have for you today, friends. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope that this video was helpful. I've been wanting to make it for a really long time, just kind of share my knowledge and my experience shopping for pre-loved luxury. Make sure that you are subscribed to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or found it helpful. Now it is your turn, friends. Sound off in the comments down below. Let me know, have you shopped from any of these sites? What was your experience? Because your input is just as good as mine. Let's help each other out. And do let me know what other kinds of videos you want to see in this series, or just saving on luxury in general. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.